we see a gaping, open serpent's mouth enveloping the Sinai Peninsula. Now that might not seem too amazing or interesting until we put in two other important pieces of information. One was that verse from Genesis that describes the serpent is going to eat the dust of the earth all the days of thy life. Two was that we know that right here in this location of the Sinai Peninsula is where, on Mount Sinai, Mount Horeb, aka Mount Cerebit, is where the Egyptians were producing this dust of the earth at that temple dedicated to Hathor. So, knowing now that they were producing this dust of the earth for the serpent kings, and then we weigh that with a verse in Genesis that describes the serpent's going to eat the dust all the days of thy life, and then we look here on the freaking map of Sinai and we see an open serpent's mouth basically eating the location where this divine dust of the earth was being produced. Pretty incredible. So, I want to show you a little more. This serpent's mouth and what's being produced out of it being termed this meat. And you're going to begin to understand, I guess, what the true expanse of what Jesus Christ is trying to convey in chapter 6 of the book of John, now that we have some more pieces to the puzzle. Now remember that this is all about, once again, that manna, that fine dust of gold, that very small round thing as small as the hoarfrost of heaven. That's that dust. So when Jesus says in line 27, labor not for the meat which perisheth, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life. Remember in Exodus that the manna was described as spoiling, that it would go rancid, even with worms, I think, that if it was not taken care of properly. Okay? Labor not for the meat which perisheth, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life. Now, in reality, this meat is in reference to word. It's in reference to truth. So we know that Jesus Christ's word is the living word in reference to eternal life. The meat that the serpent's offering is a doctrine or a dead word, a dead letter, because we see here that because the letter carries the truth, our fathers did eat the manna in the desert as it is written, well, they're dead. Okay? So Jesus is admonishing not to labor for that meat which will perish, meaning both the manna, which will perish and spoil, those that partake of it, their flesh is going to perish and spoil, and then the ultimate meat that he's describing that's going to spoil is the meat that's coming out of the serpent's mouth itself, the false doctrine of the serpent himself. Now, I want to show you what all that means. And to do that, we're going to go to chapter 14 of the book of Judges. Now, before I go and explain some stuff here, I'm going to bring you right to the point of what I was just talking about. And we go from chapter 14 and basically verse 14, double. And he said unto them, Out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. And he said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. There's the eater. That's the serpent. Now, we have already established another figurative definition of what that riddle that Samson is proposing is all about. One portion, astronomically, is about the Ouroboros. And as we can see, the symbolism of the serpent connecting around and eating its tail. In other words, out of the mouth of the eater cometh forth meat. Out of the mouth of the serpent is coming forth the doctrine of the serpent. So, what is the meat that's coming out of the mouth of the eater? Well, we'd have to understand who the eater is. And we did that when we looked at Genesis. And when we looked at Genesis chapter 14, once again, connecting us to Judges chapter 14, verse 14, who's the eater? Genesis chapter 3, verse 14, and the Lord God said unto the serpent, because thou hast done this, thou art cursed above all cattle, and above every beast of the field. Upon thy belly shalt thou go, and dust shalt thou eat all the days of thy life. So who is the eater that Samson in his riddle is talking about that supposedly nobody can figure out? And what is this meat that's coming out of it that we saw Jesus Christ was able to figure out? Labor not for the meat which perisheth, but for that meat which endureth unto everlasting life. And he said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. Out of the eater came forth meat. We know that the meat that Jesus Christ was talking about was in reference to the manna, which was in reference to the fullness of the serpent doctrine. And just as you see here, that out of the mouth of the eater, out of the mouth of the serpent, is coming forth this meat, where they're actually producing this powdered gold, the gold tried by fire that Jesus was warning against. Amazing. Thoroughly and literally amazing. Really is. So let's take this one step further. We know, there's a whole lot to talk about here in the book of Judges. We've already talked about it. Samson is a Danite. Okay? Dan is the 13th judge of Israel. The representation of Samson as a Danite, the 13th judge of Israel. Samson is one of these great strong men, right? Just like the descendancy of these mighty sons of God. That's exactly what the symbolism of Samson is. You should see and know that Samson is symbolized as killing this young lion. And The young lion that Samson kills is further symbolism for one of these sons of God who is not fallen. One of these sons of God that is roaring out against this descendancy of the fallen ones. And you see that Samson has taken upon himself to slay this other young lion. As I told you, just like you see at the foot of the Pyramid of Giza, the Sphinx, which is symbolism of these sons of God, the young lions, the men that were united with these noble sons of God being described as lions as they were associated further with the true kingdom in relationship what has come down to us known as the Lion of the tribe of Judah, the conquering Lion of the tribe of Judah. At one time, all of these sons of God were shouting together for joy under the same truth, under the same Father. So, in the beginning, all of these sons of God were symbolized as lions. And then they begin, at least the fallen portion, begin by order of their gods to start warring against the remnant of the sons of God that did not rebel. And this is a depiction of one of those events right here. Now, as you see here, just skipping down a little further, that this is what happens once he slays this lion. And after a time he returned to take her, and he turned aside to see the carcass of the lion, and behold, there was a swarm of bees and honey in the carcass of the lion. And he took thereof in his hands, and went on eating, and came to his father and mother, and gave them, and they did eat. But he told not them that he had taken the honey out of the carcass of the lion. So in heavy-duty symbolism here, it's describing that once these lions are destroyed, that it will produce this golden age, that it's going to produce this honey. It's going to produce this order, as we see it being associated with the symbol of the bee. And if you've done any mediocre research to anything that I've told you thus far about Dan, you should know now that the tribe of Dan's symbol is the bee. So, as I've told you, the Dans represent the locust, and the locust's chief agenda is to spew false doctrine, bringing down the validity of the truth of Jesus Christ in your mind. And here you see symbolized further that their mission was the same. It was to destroy the lion. In order to destroy the lion, or what they were hoping to achieve by destroying the lion, was this order, this new world order, this golden age. Now, that's what brings us down here to this riddle of chapter 14, verse 14 of Judges. And he said unto them, out of the eater came forth meat, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. So, absolutely incredible. Absolutely incredible. Out of the eater came forth meat. And we see right out of the eater, the serpent dust eater is coming forth this meat that's going to perish. And that any that believe in it have perished. And those that believe in it now are going to perish just the same. The only thing that's going to bring you to eternal life is the living word of Jesus Christ. The truth, the love, and the mercy. Understand that. It's all right there. Everything I'm showing you is all right there. So, the riddle is a little multi-leveled in its understanding. And it says, and out of the strong came forth sweetness. Well, you know that Dan represents the strong. And as I told you, that Dan represents the Pleiades. Dan represents one of these ancient strong ones. So, out of these strong ones destroying the truth, as they believe that they're going to produce this sweetness of a golden age. And you know that in Job chapter 38, that the Pleiadians are associated with the sweetness, the sweet influences of the Pleiades. So they're trying to create what they believe to be their utopian world by getting rid of what they're diametrically opposed to, and that's the truth of Jesus Christ. And it's all right there. It's fully explained here within the Iraqi dinar, that you'll see that the chief objective here of the dragon, out of the mouth of the eater cometh forth meat, is to destroy the lion. Just like you saw Samson was rendering a lion, we see here that the symbolism for the lion is the same. This represents the conquering lion of the tribe of Judah. In other words, them trying to dismantle the truth of Jesus Christ, the Godhead. And then this also represents all of the believers in Jesus Christ, that they're hoping to either convert to their doctrines by the fire, smoke, and the brimstone, the false doctrine of the locust, or to destroy. And it's right here. It's the very same thing that you're seeing right here in the book of Judges. The very same thing. So the honey, as it represents the golden age, also represents the sweetness of this monatomic gold, as you saw it being described in Genesis as being sweet like honey. So many variable compounding levels of truth association here. But they're all going to go from the fruit to the root and all things in between. But you have to be able to carry this to the beginning, and then you have to be able to carry this to the end to come full circle in what this truth is all about. So before we move on to one other thing that I want to show you here astronomically about this and how it all connects, just take a look at some of the wording here in chapter 14. Samson, as I told you, is one of these ancient sons of God. The temple of Hathor represents the symbolism of a cow. More importantly, Hathor represents the symbolism of a heifer. Get a load of what Samson is calling his wife. If ye had not plowed with my heifer, ye had not found out my riddle. He is calling his wife his heifer, his cow. Just as I told you that's exactly what these fallen sons of God had termed the daughters of men. They were seen as the heifers to produce the golden calves. In other words, which I told you was the descendancy, the sons of God themselves. Okay? So the language for the heifer, as it relates back to Ishtar, symbolized with the cow. Hathor, symbolized with the cow, represents the sacred feminine, which was really the philosophy which is all about these guys taking unto themselves the daughters of men to achieve their plan, to break the seal. Just like I told you with the XX chromosome symbolizes the feminine, and I said that the sacred feminine is their plan of taking unto themselves the daughters of men. It's all right there. It's all right there with the coding of the understanding of the heifer. Now, let's show you where Samson, being a Danite, is going to become associated with the fulfillment of the asses. And he found a new jawbone of an ass, and he put forth his hand and took it and slew 1,000 men therewith. And Samson said, with the jawbone of an ass, heaps upon heaps, with the jaw of an ass have I slain 1,000 men. Now Job chapter 24 should begin to start making some sense with what I told you as it connects to these ancient mighty men and the symbolisms of the ass, the wild asses. We even see that Samson's God has prepared this hollow place that has this special spring located within it. And if you followed some of my earlier videos, this is none other than the location of the abyss itself. this spring. That is what in Hakor literally means. And this hollow place that's being carved out within the earth at this location, at this place in Lehi, known as In Hakor, is one of the entrances to their inner earth habitation. Basically laid down before you in not so well-coded code. Not so well-coded code if you're beginning, if you had the patience and the perseverance and the will to seek out what this truth was really all about. And to be quite honest, I didn't. I was given all this information years ago, because I already had the faith. And, once I realized that something was miraculous happening in my life and that all of this stuff did make sense with biblical prophecy, I did the right thing and I started a channel and I began to try to explain what I know. And you've seen what's happened since then. Okay, let's make a connection with this out of the mouth of the eater came forth meat as it connects with the Ouroboros. Okay, we'll follow that astronomical depiction, and I'm gonna show you guys. It's gonna show you the same thing, but just in a different way. And he said unto them, out of the mouth of the eater came forth meat. The mouth of the eater that came forth meat, the Ouroboros. Okay, and there's the depiction of the Ouroboros. And more importantly, you should look at this symbol of the star tetrahedron as it's associated with those that have been bound within these waters, as I told you. And this represents their dark prince that they're hoping to achieve in the material. Now that's basically a condensed version of what they're trying to do with this seal of the star tetrahedron. We see right here the iron cross. We've already shown how that symbolism represents the Orion cross, these troops of Orion. In other words, the very same army, the very same band, the very same troop of Joel 2, the very same bands of Orion that are being loosed in the book of Job, chapter 38. So the Ouroboros is symbolism for the timing, and then, of course, much, much more as it associates with the riddle. Out of the mouth of the eater is going to come forth this meat. So what we need to see within the symbolisms of the timing astronomically of the Ouroboros, I want to see the exact same themes fulfilled exactly for this truth to be real and for me to have the real vision to be able to see all this. Okay? I want to see the exact same things. Well, we're going to see it. We're going to see it, and it's going to keep going. It's going to get bigger and bigger. As it gets bigger, it's harder for me to contain and to explain. Anyway, this is a world age map. If you don't understand what a world age map is, you need to watch a video series that I did entitled Start Date for the Garden of Eden is 36,288 BC. And you will see that the Hebrew calendar, the Hebrew world age concept is absolutely similar, even into the timing of the days and years with the Mayan world age philosophy. So just like in the Hebrew Bible, that in Genesis, we start off the story with serpent destruction, and then at the end of Revelation, we end with serpent destruction, and then we see that the serpent is bound and then planned to be loosed again for another cycle of this serpent destruction. Well, it's the same thing with the Mayan world age philosophy. That at the end of this world age, there's supposed to be destruction, then there'll be renewal, and then if you understand the successive world ages that come after, there was destruction with the ending of those also. This will show you 5 of these world ages that come together. Okay, so we're at basically the ending of this world age period right here. We're at the ending of this world age period right here. It's roughly 5,125 years from this point to this point. All 5 of these together make up the great year of roughly 26,000 years. And as you know, this 5,125 year period of a world age is broken down into 13 periods that are known as Baktuns. And a Baktun is made up of 12 times 12,000 days, which equals 144,000 days. Actually, a Baktun is 394 years that is broken down to 12 times 12,000 days equals 144,000 days, which breaks down to 394 years. That's the way that I should have explained it. Now, this 144,000 should be familiar because it's supposed to be 144,000 of the 12 tribes of Israel. And then we know that Dan, being the 13th judge, is going to be absent. So it makes up this 12 tribes because Dan is to be the 13th judge. A whole lot more that can be said about all that, all right? But what we want to do is we want to focus on this alignment, all right? And I want you to, this is going to kind of come out to see what the true plan of the serpent is not to lift mankind up as a god, but it's in all actuality to destroy mankind, the remnant of what the original creation of mankind is for and all about. And that's the representation of the Father in heaven. We are the representation. We are the children of God. This serpent is trying to destroy the original creation of the children of God. And you're going to see it played out in the symbolism of the Ouroboros, which is going to perfectly match what you're seeing right here. Exactly. All right. If we were to look at the alignment of this world age map, the first thing that you begin to see is that when 5 of these world ages come together, known as the Great Year, of which we're completing that cycle in this timing, in these days now, it makes a pentagram. It makes the shape of a pentagram. Now you know that the shape of a pentagram is the geometrical shape for that of man. We have the outstretched geometry of the form of man. And you would see here the head, the arms, and then the legs sticking out. Now everybody's kind of familiar with the way a pentagram reflects the geometry of man. Now you see that when this cycle is lined up at this point, we see that astronomically it's been told to us that we're aligning with the center of the Milky Way. Okay? The center of the Milky Way. The center of the Milky Way is also known as the Dark Rift because in this Milky Way portion of the sky, basically it's the galaxy that we find ourselves in. So when you look up at a dark enough region of the night sky, you'll see this band of condensed stars, which is really the galaxy from which we ourselves emerge. Well, within the center of this Milky Way, the Mayans had termed something known as the Dark Rift, which is further known and recorded and called the Cosmic Womb. Now you know that the Bible calls this time as associated with a birthing time, and it's continually repeated, this line here describing as a woman in travail. That's what this is about. That this is describing the pains, the anguish pains of a woman that's giving birth. Now, this is symbolic of the birth of the New World Order, the symbolic of the birthing of these beings into our dominion, and symbolic of the birthing of the Antichrist into material form. It's symbolic of all of these types of birth of not good things that are being brought into this world. Now, if you can understand the symbolisms of this central location, this dark area being called the Dark Rift, being symbolized further as the Cosmic Womb, you should now understand that they also call it the Serpent's mouth. And when this alignment of the Ouroboros takes place, notice we have this cross on top of the crown. Okay? Now, I know that this isn't the real depiction and the meaning of what they're trying to say here, but when we begin to start talking about the fractal, we notice that this cross is directly positioned right here in front of the serpent's mouth. In other words, the representation of the believers in Jesus Christ are being brought into this serpent's mouth. Mankind himself. The plan for the serpent is to devour and destroy the remnant of mankind on this world and totally replace him. Now, many people are buying into it and thinking that that's something that they want to be a part of because of all of this misconstrued traditional interpretation of the Bible, that people are now starting to glorify the supposed serpent lie as something that's good, when in reality, it's super bad. So if we now took the geometry of this symbol here as the pentagram, seeing how it forms the completion of these 5 world ages, forms the alignment of the Ouroboros, we now see this as the head of mankind. And if this now represents the serpent's mouth, and they say what was up will become down, and what was down will become up, well, we see that mankind's head is being plunged head forward into the mouth of the serpent. Exactly the symbolism of what you're seeing right here. Because mankind as a whole, we see, is going to fall to this strong delusion. They're going to fall to the serpent doctrine. The Bible calls it the great falling away. And we see here that the symbolism is already set up. The manifestation for the truth is already fulfilled itself in our reality. That the serpent is right here, ready to devour mankind with his false meat, with his false doctrine that's coming out of his mouth. So out of the mouth of the eater shall come forth meat. We know that the meat that's coming out of this eater is going to spoil. And it's going to spoil all of those who choose to believe in it. In other words, you're basically just plunging your head directly in to the mouth of the serpent. So, pretty freaking amazing. It really is. And I probably didn't explain that as good as what it deserves. Because it's real. It's really real. It's so important. It's so big. It's so amazing. I mean, stuff like this should go viral. It should go viral at least within the communities of people that are searching for truth about God, about the Bible, want to understand the truth of Jesus Christ. I mean, I don't know what a lot of you guys are really looking for, or I don't know. I just don't understand why so many people fail to be able to have the courage to say that this is true. Just so few people do. And then the ones that really do are, most of the time, they're just trying to fool me and to get close to me so that they can, further steer people away, and then they themselves are interested in what I'm saying. So, I don't know. I'm continually just doing my best to show you guys what I see. Just doing my best. Okay, I want to show you one other thing here. Maybe not. Maybe I'm not going to show it to you. I'll show it to you another time. If I had not already talked about it, I can't remember if I did. If I did, I apologize for what I'm going to show you now, but this is that drawing I did 20 years ago. Remember, we saw that Mount Sinai was connected to the Babylonian moon god Sin. And we know that this Sin in Babylon is translated as illumination. We know that Sinai translates as shining one. All of this is symbolism for those that believe themselves to be illuminated. That's where we get the Illuminati from. Notice that the moon is fully connected with the scene about the second cup, the bombs that are supposed to occur, supposed to destroy New York City, second cup falling right here. What do you see right here? You see an inverted triangle. Now, the inverted triangle represents the womb. It represents the birthing point. As I told you, they're trying to birth the New World Order. They're trying to birth the Antichrist. They're trying to release these false beings into our dominion. Okay? All this symbolism of this inverted triangle, this birth of their propaganda, the completion, the birthing, the consummation of their rebellion is hoping to be finalized, within this symbolism of this inverted triangle. So the inverted triangle is absolutely associated with what they're trying to birth, their propaganda, the fullness of the doctrine of the serpent. You saw that it was already associated with the moon god Sin, and then we have the inverted triangle directly connected. Well, I didn't know none of that. I didn't know none of that when I did this 20 years ago. I didn't know none of that when I uploaded the first videos about this over a year ago. If you watch those videos, you'll see that I don't know none of this. I know it now. The inverted triangle that is connected with this moon god Sinai is no fluke, because there is our inverted triangle. There is our inverted triangle that represents what? Out of the mouth of the eater shall come forth meat. And then what does it also represent? As I've just showed you before, it represents simultaneously the cosmic womb, simultaneously the serpent's mouth. As I said, this inverted triangle symbolizes the womb, the birthing point, and there we see that the seer sees. The seer sees and has saw and is doing his best to get you guys to understand. I'm doing my best. And I'm doing my best to understand also. I'm doing my best to understand. So, wow. Wow. Take all of that in. Take all of that in. And if I didn't show it to you, this is what we looked at with Mount Sinai. All of that stuff describing it in connection with the Babylonian moon god. And then, right after it says the entire peninsula takes the shape of an inverted triangle. And it's even, this peninsula contains 23,000 square miles, roughly. And we know that this is associated with the 23 Enigma, which is associated with the 2/3 more genetic material that the female offers to the offspring than the male, the XX chromosome. It's all there in the fractal complete. And it's all already been revealed to me. It's all already been revealed to me. All of it. Every last bit of it is right there. And some of you people that have seen the videos that I did, this comes from a series entitled 11-11-11, I Am a Seer. You'll know that I didn't know none of this. So much of this I didn't know, and People were helping me to even understand my own drawing. My own father helped me to understand this drawing and to begin to see in this portion right over here that there was something to do with 9/11. And, you know, and here I sit, on this channel with at least what I believe to be some important information. I mean, obviously, and I guess it could be my own fault of how I've come off. And I can fully imagine how I've come off in some people's eyes. And I can even imagine, even in my own eyes, if I was looking at this from the outside and listening to some dude like me, I would probably think that I was crazy also. You know, in the beginning, maybe. And then maybe, I wouldn't have enough patience to listen to me ramble on through a thousand videos to finally get to the point to where I could understand me. I can sympathize. I really can. I don't know what else to do. I don't know what else to do at all. I really don't. The only thing that I know to do is to get up every morning, speak in the love and the perfection of the Father that I personally know and have found, and to reveal the miracle that's working in my life, and to let you guys know that the Spirit of Truth is real, that I know the Spirit of Truth. I'm not the Spirit of Truth. I'm a servant of the Spirit of Truth. I'm a servant of the kingdom. I'm a servant to my brothers. I'm your brother. I'm your brother, and I spend hours, many hours, weeding through all the crap that I get and all the stuff that I go through, all of the trying times, all the many buttons that people try to push on me for no reason. I've done absolutely nothing to no one. I weed through all of that as best I can to continually hope to reach a few of you people that are sincere and that have the capacity to receive this. And I fully trust that how much ever of this is getting out to how many ever of you are able to understand it, I fully trust that that's enough. So it's just amazing to me of how amazing this is, but how little people that I find that are willing to admit that it's also amazing and to begin to act on it, because truth isn't truth until this truth is put into action. Until then, it's just an opinion. It's an opinion of truth until you can experience it, until you can activate it and actualize it. And I can speak for myself on this, that I have experienced, I've activated, and I've actualized this truth. I'm experiencing it. It's coming to life. It's literally real. It's real in every aspect of my life. You couldn't even believe. I'm just all kinds of stuff about me. Yeah, my whole name is symbolized to my mission and what I'm supposed to do. My first name, Kurt, means courteous church. It literally means courteous church. And I've guessed that's what I've been basically trying to hold here for the last 2 years, is a courteous church to anybody that would listen. My middle name is coded. I don't wish to go into it, but my last name is coded also. My birth date is coded. 4772 is 11/9. It's the reversing of this 9/11 terror. The information that I'm sharing with you guys, that hopefully you share with other people, will reverse this terror. It will reverse this strong delusion. It will help to limit the casualties of this great falling away. Even the building that I'm in is coded for the truth and the mission that I'm a part of. If any of you have ever seen the videos of my building, and some of you guys that watch me, you know that my building is aqua blue. the word of Jesus Christ, you know, the living waters of Jesus Christ. My building is aqua blue, the whole building. It just so happens the room that I'm in right now, the walls are painted aqua blue. Aqua blue. If you were to go outside and look at the sign that's on this building here from a previous business that was here before, the sign says the stock exchange. And this just hit me the other day. I'm just kind of free talking to you. I'm about to end the video here. The sign says the stock exchange. That's what this building was called. Now, what have I been warning everybody about? That New York is going to be destroyed. New York. Where in New York? New York, New York. What's in New York, New York? The New York Stock Exchange. The New York Stock Exchange. We also know that stock is representation of cattle. Okay? The New York Cattle Exchange. Everything in my life that I have yet to share with you guys, the personal things about me in its fullness, is what I'm experiencing as the truth of what I know that it's really real. I don't spend time trying to convince you guys about my personal stuff. I'm telling you a little bit of it right now just because I just felt free enough to talk about it at this moment. I felt compelled to maybe say a little more. But I don't know. I'm just going to keep pushing on through and bring in at least what I believe to be the amazing revelations, and knowing full well that I'm not perfect. I know that I have not come across perfect. I apologize. I really, really do. I apologize for some of my need to feel important, and I can freely admit that because I realize the magnitude of all of this truth, and that it's really real, and that it's really come through me by miraculous means, it's been a tough thing for me to deal with. I've had to learn how to humble myself throughout this process, and in the beginning I didn't do a good job. I surely didn't. I don't have anything against anybody that has claimed that I've got some sort of ego, because I know that my ego has, and will manifest. I know that. But I also know that I'm a work in progress, and that I know that I'm not anything special, anything more special than anyone else. That, everybody has the same allotment for the potential to be fulfilled in their lives, but you have to realize your life is eternal. It's about walking the path. The longer you walk the path, the more inertia you create. The more inertia you create, the more velocity can be obtained. And once you achieve maximum velocity, you create perpetual motion, in which basically you are now moving forward at the speed of light along the path effortlessly. No longer are you blinded by the material temptations on the detours of this road, because now you are achieving a steady growth in this progress of the velocity of the light of truth. Nothing's going to pull you away. You're actually experiencing the repercussions of the reaping, of the sowing of this goodness in your life, you're experiencing it now. So the people that have been on the path the longest and stay with that steady inertia, that steady truth, walking that path, not deviating, that path is love your brother, love your neighbor as yourself, and love the Father with all your might. You stay within that manifested truth. You stay centered on the truth of Jesus Christ. You try to live that to the fullest, no matter how hard it is, no matter how many people come against you, no matter how difficult the world might make it seem, no matter how many abrasions that the imperfections of the world try to bring against you for you trying to maintain that perfection, you better believe that if you can maintain that perfection, these abrasions of the world are only going to make you smoother. They're going to only make you more adapted and progressing in the abilities to overcome all of life's manifold problems. Whatever agents they throw at you, whatever difficulties, whatever stumbling blocks are cast before your feet, that if you have maintained your stride and your step along this path for an extended period of time, well then it's that much more easier to overcome those stumbling blocks. Because when you're traveling at the speed of light, you are moving right through these stumbling blocks. They don't have the ability to detour you. They don't have the ability to affect you. But they do if you're divergent upon this path, if you're going up and down, if you're on it one day, you're going from hot to cold, from cold to hot, and you're lukewarm. Well, guess what? You're not maintaining momentum. You're not achieving velocity. So that means every time that you start not wholeheartedly in following the path that Jesus Christ has laid, when you're not wholehearted, well, guess what? The miracles are not going to come to you wholeheartedly. If you're not wholeheartedly in it for the fullness of the truth of Jesus Christ, with the fullness of the sincerity of your faith, within the fullness of the sincerity of the miracles that the faith provide by having the faith to move mountains, the inertia along the path in keeping this faith cannot be given to you. So I'm not any more special than the potential that any one of you guys have. You all have this potential, but it's all bound up in your personal ability, your personal will, your personal work ethic to achieve it. So if you are not full on all about the truth of Jesus Christ, then the full on all about miracle of Jesus Christ cannot be manifested into your life. Plain and simple. Plain and simple. So I'll testify today that I am the living proof, at least in my life, that absolute faith in Jesus Christ will produce a miracle. It's produced a miracle in my life. I can't deny it. I am just overjoyed to be a part of this revelation of truth, no matter how minuscule and how small it is. I'm just overjoyed to be a part of revealing what I am. Thank you guys for hearing me out, and there is going to be a part 6. I'll be back.